This is the fractal flame we are going to build today. It's called Grand Julian and it's very beautiful. It has a lot of intricate detail and it's built using a chain of iterator, all using a Julian variation, obviously with different parameters. It allows also for a great deal of experimentation. So once we will complete this tutorial, you can go back and change the parameter the way you want, just for experimenting and see what you can get out of it. So let's go inside Houdini and do it. Hello, today we are gonna build a Grand Julian flame. So this is the default, and let's clear and let's create a 3 iterator from scratch. Perfect. Let's go to iterator 1 and let's add a swirl variation, which is down to the bottom. Here you go, swirl, and let's set it to 0.1. Great. Now let's increase the iteration count for this fractal flame and let's set those to 16. Perfect. Now let's go to iterator 2 and let's start. Let's add a Julian, which is a parametric variation. There you go. Perfect. And now let's set its parametric parameter to 2 for the power and -1 for the distance. Great. And let's set its weight to 2. Perfect. Now on the pre-affine, let's make this twice as big. So 2 on the X and 2 on the Y. And let's rotate this pre-affine by 45 degrees. We will come back to this iterator later, which is here is lie down the trick. On iterator 3, let's add another Julian. It will be all Julian variation from now on. So Julian, perfect. And let's set its weight to 0.4. And now let's go on the parametric and let's set those values to 20 for the power and -2 for the distance. Perfect. And now let's go to iterator 2 and let's set the shader location to 1. So we get more color propagating around. I have a palette which I saved before for this flame. Feel free to use any palette you want. We are loading the file and we will load the palette in a little bit. Great. Now let's adjust the weight for each iterator. So for iterator 1 it will be 1.5, for iterator 2 it will be 15, and for iterator 3 it will be 6. Fantastic. Now let's go and load the palette. Great. And now let's go back and let's go to iterator 2 and let's offset in Y and in negative, and this will show up all the Julian construction. So we will settle for -0.6 on the OY value. Okay, now let's add a disk and we will work out the center. And let's set this to 0.1. Fantastic, so we get some different shape. And now let's add a Gaussian blur. And let's blur a little bit. So let's set it to 0.2. Perfect. Now we need 2 more iterators, but first let's appreciate a little more. Let's set the point count to 5 million. And let's have an overview of what we did so far until now. That looks really nice. It's a nice shape going on. It's a classic, but it's always nice. So let's go back to the default point count and let's create a new iterator. And also on this one, let's add a Julian, yeah. And let's set its weight to 0.5. And now let's change the parametric parameter to 20 for the power and 2 for the distance. Perfect. And what we are doing now, we are working out the crown. So let's set the iterator weight to 4, so we send more point to it, and there you go. So we got a nice double crown there. Very nice. And now let's add the last iterator, and also this one will be a Julian. There you go. And let's adjust the parametric parameter to 2 for the power and -1 for the distance. And let's set the Julian weight to 2. Great. And the pre-affine will be twice as big, so 2 on the X and 2 on the Y. And we're gonna rotate this by 45 degrees as well. And now we're gonna offset in Y by quite a bit. And we will see some pattern will fall into place. So let's settle for minus 6.6. And now let's adjust the weight of this iterator to 8, so we will send more points to those new shape. Perfect. And those are the extra detail we are adding in place. Yeah, it looks really nice. Let's adjust the location, the shader location to 1, so we get some different color more in line with the rest, so the yellow will flow through. And now let's set this point count to 25 million, and let's review this. Let's go to preference and set the viewport point size to 0.4. Great. And let's have a walk around. Very nice. Those shapes created by multiple Julian working together, they are always nice. And the double crown make it looks very sophisticated too, which is propagating iteratively everywhere inside this flame. Yeah, very nice. And now it's time to render. Let's lock the property windows and let's go inside stage. Let's create a FLAM3H USD node. Perfect. And this will import automatically the first. Let's toggle off the grid. And let's set the viewport to dark, Karma CPU, and let's set the NVIDIA optic denoiser. Perfect. And now let's set the width to something smaller. Let's say 0.25 is good to start with. That's great. And in my case, since this fractal is very fast, I'm setting the point count to 100 million. 50 million will do the trick, but why not? Take about 7, 8 seconds, it's done. And maybe let's increase a little bit the width to 0.4. Great. Yeah. And let's play with the HSV value. Let's increase the V, so to 3, to pump up a little bit the color power. And maybe let's decrease a little bit the point scale, the width in this case, since we are inside Solaris. Maybe 0.3. Yeah. And that's it. We are done. This is the Grand Julian done inside Houdini with FLAM3H.